Okay, so chapter 1, learning objective 3, after they show you all of the financial statements, they give you a little piece of information about what's called a company annual report. And again, like I told you, companies report their profits to their owners on a regular cycle. They have monthly statements, they have quarterly statements, and they have annual or yearly statements. So the annual report is basically if the company is what we call publicly traded, which means anybody in the public can be a stockholder. The company has to share its quarterly reports and its annual report with the public, okay? And annual reports, as you see here, have a few parts that are a little bit more important than the other things that they do, okay? So the first thing that you need to understand is the financial statements that we went over are going to be the annual statements for the company in this report. Whatever is on the financial statements that needs to be explained will be explained in the notes to those financial statements. Management needs to explain many different things about the company. So the largest part of the annual report is something called the management discussion and analysis. And it's just management really explaining in many, many details things that are going on with the company. A lot of them are financially related, but not exclusively. And then, of course, because these financial statements are going to be public, they have to have an independent accountant called an auditor look through the statements to make sure that they are following the rules of financial accounting. Now, you haven't learned about those yet. In chapter 2, you will learn about something called GAAP, G-A-A-P, generally accepted accounting principles. Those are the rules for financial accounting. And so setting up those income statements and those balance sheets in a certain way are part of the rules that actually you're going to be learning throughout the course. So those rules are something that an independent accountant called an auditor will look to see if the company is actually doing that properly. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, now your book explains a little bit of each part, but actually I want to show you, an example. So let me see, I have to stop my share, come back here, and then I got to share another screen. I'm actually going to show you an annual report right now, and I'm going to kind of show you those 4 parts that your book mentions, okay? So we're going to show you a Walmart annual report. I think it's here. Okay, so can everyone see Walmart Incorporated 2020 annual report? Can you see that? Yes. Yeah, Dennis, Gio, you can see that? Yeah, you're the top 2 on my screen here, so I'm just asking. Okay, so what we've got going on here, now Walmart is what we call a publicly traded company. Anybody in the public can become a stockholder of Walmart simply by buying a share of stock in Walmart through a broker. And so the annual reports are public. Okay, actually the quarterly reports, all the reports are public because Walmart is a public corporation. Now, annual reports are what we call, because they're required by law, the United States government has the Securities and Exchange Commission to oversee these types of issues with publicly traded companies on the stock exchange. And every year they have to fill out an annual report. The annual report is called a 10K, a Form 10K. So when you hear or see the word 10K, it simply is an annual report. It means the same thing. It's just a form. You know, governments just have a bunch of forms. They label forms accordingly. But this is simply an annual report. Walmart, as you see, I'm going to point out a couple of quick things here while we're in the report. Walmart is an Arkansas company. Walmart was started in Arkansas, Bentonville, Arkansas. Sam Walton had one store back in the 50s. It's amazing how it went from one store to the world's largest retailer today. But when it actually incorporated, even though it was, and it's still an Arkansas-based company, their headquarters are in Arkansas. They actually incorporated in Delaware. That's what this DE is up here. They actually incorporated in Delaware, and that's because, again, you can incorporate in any of the 50 states. Okay. Once one state recognizes you as a legal entity, they all do. So, so this is interesting that even though it's an Arkansas company, they've chosen to incorporate in Delaware. And that's because Delaware has favorable corporate laws. 10Ks or annual reports, the form that the government requires businesses to fill out is the same for every business. And so you'll see a table of contents that looks exactly the same for every single business that has it's required to put in a report. And so that's very, very important. I'm going to show you a couple of quick things. Number one, item number 7 is that management's discussion and analysis of the condition of the company. That's one of the parts that your book points out for the annual report. It's a large part of the annual report. Item 8 shows the financial statements and supplemental data, which basically are the notes to the financial statements. Okay. And then what I don't see it here, but I will show you the actual auditor's report as well. So real quickly, and I don't know if you actually, I mean, you know, I'm kind of a nerdy type of guy. I'll sit down and read this stuff, most of it anyway. It's interesting. It's interesting. Tells you a lot more about the company than you ever really knew. And so I'm going to go ahead and get to, okay, so item 7 is the management discussion and analysis. So it's a pretty large part of the annual report. It goes on for quite some time. They explain the metrics. They explain, you know, how they're doing for Walmart and Sam's Club because they own both. What they're doing for e-commerce versus, you know, the traditional brick and mortar. How are they getting good returns on their assets? They're going to explain lots and lots of financial issues regarding the company and how it's being managed. And so this is a very important part because it's management's own words as to what's going on. And so that becomes a very important aspect to this. I'll go down a little bit more and we'll see the financial statements. So the financial statements in item 8 include the report of the auditor. Okay, so the report of the independent registered public accounting firm is the auditor's statement. Here's the income statement. They call a consolidated statement of income. Here's the balance sheet here. And then here's the notes to the statements. Okay, the notes to the statements. So all the parts are here. And Walmart, so this is the independent auditor. They express an opinion whether the statements are in conformity with GAAP, GAAP, which are the rules in the United States of how to do financial accounting. And so they in this case, they do see that their opinion is that Walmart is following the rules when they put their financial statements together. This is Walmart's income statement. Notice the revenue is listed first. All of their costs are listed after that. And then they have net income at the bottom. And so very important to understand that they separate their revenue into sales and membership. Because when you sell a membership to a Sam's Club, it's different than selling a good. So sales revenue is selling goods, which is what they do. But when you sell a membership, you're not selling a good. And so they classify it as other revenue because they're actually trying to sell a service. You know, you're kind of a member of a select group. And that's different than buying a good. But as you see, Walmart's total revenue, it looks like a small number, 523,964, until you realize that all of these are in millions. And so in order to get the right number, you add 6 zeros, which means that Walmart has over $500 billion in revenue. It's a huge frickin' company. And so that's very, very important. So over 500 billion is $500 billion. Again, they pay a lot of money for their goods to resell it to you. They ended up with a little over 14.8, almost $15 billion of profit last year. Yeah, last accounting year. Again, they have other statements that you'll learn as you grow into finance. Is your balance sheet. Assets are listed, liabilities, equity is listed, and it's balanced. Again, there's a couple of others. The cash flow statement, for example, things that you'll be learning about. And then the last part of the what your book shows you is the notes to financial statements. So everything on the financial statements here is explained. So you want to know a little bit more about cash and cash equivalents, it's right here. You want to know about the company's accounts receivables, it's right here. You want to know about the company's inventory, it's right here, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's basically the financial report, the annual report in a nutshell.